for exclusive coverage of an attempted suicide.
My name's Aron Ralston. My parents are down on Larry Ralston.
Hey, welcome back to another video of some lost media cases. Today we're going to be going into a, let's say, deeper depth of lost media. There'll be some, normal, tamed sort of lost media cases. But then as we go deeper into the video, we will eventually find some more gory ones. So if you do not like people speaking about disgusting stuff, don't watch this part 2 of my video, because last time it was nowhere near what we're going to talk about today. It was more like songs and stuff, nothing really that creepy compared to today. So as a reminder, a disclaimer, it will get worse and worse as it goes on the list. So we're going to start off with a bit of a nice one until it gets to deeper depth right at the end. So let's start off with our first one. It's 1994, a new year for Sonic, and a new year for competing with Mario. As Mario and Sonic had a rival between who could make the best console back then in the 90s. So they had to up their game a little bit. But how would they do this? Well, as CGI and 3D games and the evolution of video games started to rise up, Sega had to compete with Mario's upcoming 3D game, and obviously they'd have to make their own. So in August 1994, they officially teased Sonic Xtreme, the evolutional 3D Sonic game, which is going to up their game and beat Nintendo. I'll play the trailer for you right now so you can see what they were trying to tease and how they were trying to compete against Mario, as seen in the trailer.
What do you mean you couldn't catch him?
Guy's fast as lightning, boss. He just disappeared in the blue streak.
You idiot. You should have set a trap.
Boss, he blasted right through it. I'm telling you, he's bigger and badder than before. Revolutionary!
Sega.
As you can see in the trailer, it also said there was going to be a different version called Sonic Blast for the Sega Genesis, the original console for Sonic games, which in fact did end up getting released. But there's a different story for Sonic Xtreme, as it was way more detailed than Sonic Blast. So it would be more hard work, but I think they wanted it to get out on a specific time. And this has happened before, and they had to split games up, so they wouldn't come in the full package, what people were expecting. So the game ended up getting scrapped, and all we have of the game is a 1 minute and 30 seconds trailer only shown at a preview someone's managed to get on a file. Another thing about this game that is quite interesting, I think there's going to be a movie revolved around this in the upcoming years, but we have literally no trailer for it, no scenes for it, nothing. We only have this plot, which we don't even know if the movie is real, but this is just supposed. The movie basically revolves around a kid playing the unreleased Sonic game, and then all of a sudden, Sonic comes to life and comes out of the TV. And it turns out that he's in the Sonic universe. And Eggman is trying to start a freaking festival, and he's going to try and brainwash the minds of everyone who goes there somehow, with his help with his robots. So Sonic and the boy have to try and stop him, and they do, and then it just turns back to normal. It's a really weird concept. But obviously now we have two better movies for Sonic, and another upcoming one for next year, which are way better quality and sound like they have a better plot. Though I'll probably watch it if it ever did get released, because it just sounds so stupid. And the actors are very unknown, so I'm assuming it was a low-budget film and it wasn't going to be good anyway, unlike the other ones we have today. Aron Ralston was a guy who decided to go camping, or like do a little journey around a desert somewhere, which had a lot of caves surrounding it. And he was only going there for a bit. He was doing a little bit of a hike and adventure, and then he met a few girls on the way, which eventually led him to a cave, and because they were trying to get to the cave, and once he left them, he had to get through some really risky jumps to get back to where he wanted to get, because that was the end of his journey. But sadly, he could not make one particular jump. There was a massive gaping hole in the middle of the cave. So, with a nearby boulder, he decided to put it into the gap and try to make the jump. But somehow he missed the jump and fell down the hole. And obviously, he moved the boulder with it because it wasn't very heavy and it didn't support his weight. So, without knowing this, he fell down the big hole, and the boulder fell right into him, and it crushed his right arm, or left arm. It crushed one of his arm, and he was stuck and he couldn't move. So, without any help, or without any chance of survival, half a bottle of water left, and nowhere to pee in, he eventually had to try and stay under there for 127 hours. So that's nearly a week. That is mental. So he obviously was struggling. He had to pee. He had to drink his own pee at one point. So eventually he had to get out of there. He was nearly dying. He was having hallucinations and everything. So he eventually decided that he should amputate his own arm with a pocket knife. He had it with him, which I think one of his family members gave to him before he went for some reason. Obviously, this would have been very painful. And obviously, as you can see in this clip, he just managed to get out from the movie. So this was insane. This is all real life. This actually happened. It took him nearly a week to get out. I don't know how he survived. And obviously, in these situations, he thought he was going to die. He had no chance. So what he decided to do, for some memories in case he did die, he would videotape his last moments. He thought it would be his last moments, and then eventually someone would find it, trace it back to his family, and they could see what he was trying to say. But they did actually end up finding the clips because he brought them back home with him, and we only, I think, have one official tiny snippet of one clip which he took with his, obviously, tape. And his camera did actually end up running out before he amputated his arm, 2 days. So, except for one tiny snippet of a clip that was found, literally nothing else has been found about his videotape. We don't have anything else. So we don't know what he was saying to his family. I think the family tried to keep it private, so obviously they do whatever they want, but this will never be available to the public. So I will show you the only supposed clip that we have of this incident. I think this was the first ever clip he took.
My name's Aron Ralston. My parents are down on Larry Ralston of Englewood, Colorado. Whoever finds this, please make an attempt to get it to them. Be sure of it. I would appreciate it.
So he is basically, I think he's like put all together the only remaining clips he wants to show to the public, because that is definitely not the only tape he took. There's definitely longer bits and more clips, obviously. So let's go on to another adventure of Lost Media, which ended fatal.
What good is a fast car, a flash house and a gold-plated dunny to me? Absolutely no good at all. I've been put on this planet to protect wildlife and wilderness areas, which in essence is going to help humanity. I want to have the purest oceans. I want to be able to drink water straight out of that creek. I want to stop the ozone layer. You're all right, mate. You're all right. This is his territory and his domain. Get out of my eyes, Elias. Not now. Get out. You mind if Cuddy is biting my dick? Seriously. This is a tiny little baby more. Oh, you're all right. Sorry about that. Got my head too close, didn't I? I certainly trust Stephen with my life.
And what do you want to be when you grow up?
Just like my daddy.
Just like your daddy.
Australian crocodile hunter Steve Irwin has died during a diving expedition near Port Douglas in Australia.
He was a charismatic crocodile hunter who cheated death again and again.
Terry Irwin has spoken of the loss of the man she called the love of her life. In a statement read by Steve's dad, she thanked the thousands who offered their condolences, and she's decided his public memorial will be held where Steve felt most comfortable, the crocodile pen at Australia Zoo.
Steve Irwin was a popular crocodile hunter from Australia who had passionate love for animals and protecting wildlife, and because of this he eventually became a TV personality, making shows, showing off what he could do with wildlife and how he can does it. Till one day he was filming a documentary with his friend where he was supposed to be showing off, I think, the sea, where his last photo would be taken on a boat, where he would eventually jump off the boat to go into the sea to try and get an underwater shot. No one really knows if it was intentional for a stingray to be right there waiting for him. We don't know if that was part of it. So as he did his perfect leap, he was jumping down, and a stingray's really sharp tail pierced him straight into the heart. Like headshot on the heart. It was perfect aim. Obviously, because of this, he would definitely not survive and he would die on scene. Now, Steve Irwin always told his cameraman to always film no matter what happens. So this is exactly what he did. He jumped in the water with him and was a bit far away from him, and he recorded him getting pierced in the heart, and his last words were, "I'm dying." For obvious reasons, this was never put to the public, but it was all announced on the news, obviously. So not only the audio and the footage is never shown to the public, we only have a few snippets of the video in photo, and we don't even have the documentary. It was never finished because he died mid filming it.
The woman host of a local television broadcast in Sarasota, Florida this morning pulled out a gun and shot herself in the head while the program was on the air. 30-year-old Chris Chubbuck is in critical condition tonight. Seconds before shooting herself, Miss Chubbuck told WXLT TV viewers, "In keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts and in living color, you're going to see another first, attempted suicide." Family members said Miss Chubbuck had been depressed and had talked of suicide during the week.
In Sarasota, Florida today, a 29-year-old talk show hostess shot herself in the head live on television. The woman, Christine Chubbuck, was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Miss Chubbuck wrote and starred in a half-hour daily show called the Suncoast Digest on station WXLT TV. This morning, she said, "In keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts, you're going to see another first, an attempted suicide." Then she drew a gun from beneath her desk and shot herself. The screen went black within seconds, and public service programming went on later.
In general, as really the end of the line of Sarasota County, which Northport is, what are the needs of your community now? Not 2 years from now, but right now.
Okay guys, so this is definitely going to be the most serious one on the list. So if you hate the thought of suicide, just click off now, because it's going to be all about it. This is going to be a horrible one to talk about. If you don't mind people talking about suicide, but you don't like watching or hearing it, click off. In the 1970s, a woman called Chubbuck joined a news team, I think it was Channel 40, and she wanted to, have a good life. And when she was going there, she met someone who she started to like a bit, called George Ryan. There was one problem, because Chubbuck had a lot of anxiety and couldn't really talk to boys that well. And obviously with George Ryan, whenever he went up to him, she'd be very awkward with him, and he would find her a bit strange, I say. And eventually he would start flirting with another woman who worked there, which would make Chubbuck very jealous. And not only this would make her jealous, it would also make her very depressed for the days to come. Due to this, she would actually attempt suicide, and she would try to eat some pills that would kill her. Obviously, she'd try to poison herself, and then she'd go to sleep, and hopefully she wouldn't wake up. But this just wouldn't work. Then the news channel she worked for wasn't really going that well. The news stories were just so really, really boring. They were basically going through a downfall. So they needed to spice things up a bit. They needed to make it more interesting and juicy. So the boss considered this, and actually ended up considering it. He said he had the thought that maybe they should start doing more deadly things. They should broadcast more deadly things. Talk about blood and guts. And obviously with this gave Christine the thought of doing something to spice it up. And obviously she was depressed at the time, so she had the perfect idea to get news sparking. She could be the first person to commit suicide on live TV. So in the following days, she would buy a gun, and on July the 15th, 1974, she would confidently walk into the studio, seeming a bit weird. They were supposed to be talking about 3 accidents that have happened around the world, about robbery, shootings, murderings, and everything else. With this, they tried to show a bit of footage from a shooting that recently happened, but they were having technical difficulties and they couldn't do it. So this was the perfect time to do it. She pulled out a script and she said this. Disclaimer, I will be showing the death audio now. Skip ahead 2 minutes if you don't want to hear it.
Adding substantially to those statistics. This weekend, being typical of the recent rash of violence, saw one man stabbed, another assaulted, and a third shot and wounded. Sarasota police report the finding of an 18-year-old, a man by the name of David Wynn, in the parking lot of a friendly tavern on 27th Street. Wynn had an apparent stab wound in the chest, which, according to witnesses, was inflicted by James Whitworth during a fight. Police charged Whitworth with aggravated assault. Wynn is in satisfactory condition at Sarasota Memorial Hospital. The second attempted armed robbery in a week has involved law enforcement officers from both Sarasota and Manatee counties. Last week, teenage gunmen held up the highway bar and, after a shootout and high-speed automobile chase, held a family hostage and finally were nabbed by Sarasota Sheriff's deputies. Early Sunday morning, the Beef and Bottle restaurant north of Sarasota Bradenton Airport on US 41 was the site of an attempted armed robbery and shooting. TV40 newsman Bob Peterson was on the scene shortly after it began, and he filed this report. Sorry, for those of you who saw Late Night Weekend News Watch last night, we did have a film report and a commentary by Bob Peterson. Unfortunately, we had technical difficulties and cannot bring it to you now. However, News Watch tonight at 5:30, and we will have that story for you then. As of this morning, Grace Foster, who was shot in that incident, is in satisfactory condition at Sarasota Memorial Hospital. In keeping with the WXLT practice of presenting the most immediate and complete reports of local blood and guts news, TV40 presents what is believed to be a television first. In living color, exclusive coverage of an attempted suicide.
That is the only piece of recording we have of this situation. There's literally only this audio, we don't even know if this is real, but the only people who do have the VHS tape of the actual suicide is the family members of Christian Chubbuck and the news company who actually recorded it. I'd also assume that all people who saw that are probably dead now, or have destroyed the copies, because who would want that on a VHS tape and keep it? It's nothing to cherish. So she died on spot. She died on Newswatch, and she was the first person to do it. And we have no photographic evidence of any of it happening, except from this picture, which was supposedly taken after she shot herself. And in the background is a, let's say, recreation of it. We have also got a movie from 2016 about this incident, which is 2 hours long. So if you want to go and watch that, that's a very good movie, and I recommend watching it if you want to know the whole thing. Obviously, after this happened, they wouldn't keep it going, so they cut the cameras and went onto a black screen or a technical difficulty screen, and they probably shut down for a few days after this incident. And there you have it. The even bigger and darker lost media stories with Sonic Xtreme, Aron Ralston, Steve Irwin and Christian Chubbuck. Now, if you want me to do a part 3 of this, I still have plenty more to go through, so just tell me in the comments. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. It took a lot of hours to make this again, so yeah, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.